All right, we're back, and it's round two of the playoffs with WNBA insider Isaac Benjamin and Arya Schwartz. Arya, let's talk about the Washington game first last week. What are your final thoughts?
I was impressed. The way that they dominated the paint against a very physical team showed me something that I don't think a lot of us have seen from Washington. I had a chance after the game in the locker room to ask Elena Deladon her thoughts on that and how important it is to find a defensive identity this late in the season. And she really just repeated that and said, this is the most important time. You know, we don't care about the past, we care about the future, and the best time to do something is the present.
I just want everybody to know quickly that Arya is being very humble. This was Insider's first time in the locker room, and he was really jazzed up.
Oh, it was amazing. It was really cool.
Sent me a text like 12:45 being like, dude, I'm so inspired. I'm so motivated. Let's keep going. He met his idol, Rebecca Lobo.
That was
so for
really
him
cool.
to just like casually be like, I asked her after the game, takes a lot.
It was an amazing experience. To be surrounded by like-minded individuals who were very focused on the league, on the W, but also then to like see these players that like you idolize them as far as like the crazy skill and ability that they have, and it was just amazing to see these players after the game and be able to like kind of pick their brain about their thoughts. Real quickly we'll talk about Dallas just real briefly. After the game, I thought they put on a great fight. I think Skylar Diggins kind of struggled to take on the game. She looked more as a facilitator early on in the game, so I asked her that in the presser. And, based off her response, it was pretty obvious that she regretted that and she wanted to focus more on that, possibly next season, being a key of, taking it into her hands when the team is struggling and getting points on the boards. That was really awesome to speak to her about. And yeah.
Okay, great. Let's go to the present tomorrow. What are you going to be looking for off the bat?
Tomorrow's game is an interesting game. Instantly when I thought about it, I was like, oh, it's going to be a good game. But then you start to look at the stats. And, I mean, just looking at the Washington stats linked up next to New York Liberty stats, I mean, their leading scorers average the same thing. Their leading rebounders are like a rebound or two away. Every stat is less than 0.5% away. So I gotta say, like, if that's what's going on right now, if that's how close the stats are in the game, and I had already been like, oh crap, I don't know who I'm gonna pick. I'm just excited. I think it's gonna be a battle up in New York. It's gonna be physical.
Let's be real. There's no team that's been hotter, maybe even all year, than the Liberty are coming into this first round for them. They are super hot. What was that streak?
10 games up.
Maybe in the past 10 games, they've been electric. What has changed at their end of their season?
It's role players and it's Tina Charles not having to do it all. Tina Charles is still putting up these ridiculous numbers that we all know she's made a name of herself for doing and carrying the team. And a lot of people have talked about this also. Tina Charles has taken on a voice as a leader in this team more than just, I'm going to do this and people will follow my role as what I do. She's now holding people accountable and getting vocal on this, which I think is part of the growth of the legend of Tina Charles. She's still leading her team in points this season. She's still leading her team in rebounds this season. But there's other players who are really, really stepping up. Kia Stokes is having a good year, getting a couple blocks and being an enforcer. You got Bria Hartley. Big shout out to Bria Hartley. She was the first player in the W to start following the WNBA Insider. So we have a lot of respect for her. When she moved from the DMV area up north to the Liberty, I was really excited to see what she did, and she came back strong from giving birth and then having a child. And she's just been, the silent stunner in this. If I say anything, I mean, her stats. Isaac and I were chatting about this earlier. I think she's had 4 games total since the playoff break where she didn't score 10 points at least. And in those 4 games, 2 of those games she scored 9 points or 7 points, and then 2 of those games she got 2 points. But either way, she's been such a powerful piece in this team in the recent push, and I don't think you can forget about Epiphany Prince, Shavante Zealous, all these players who, if you were a person who followed the WNBA, you knew their names, but they weren't putting up stats worthy of their team being a contender. They're putting up their stats now, and they are kind of like saying, hey, this is why you know my name.
So how can the Mystics really handle this extra push? It's hard as it is to just handle Charles down low, and obviously they've got the front court to do that. But with all these role players stepping up their game, what do the Mystics have to do?
So the Liberty and the Mystics both do something that I think is going to be interesting in this game. What they do defensively is very similar. They slow down your pace, and they kind of say, okay, yeah, this player's going to have a great game, but this player's going to have a great game throughout the whole game. They're not going to have a spurt where they just go off for 10 points in 30 seconds, or something crazy. They're going to slow down the pace of the game. So I'm interested to see which team slows down the other one to a pace where they're not comfortable. Because Elena Deladon showed in the playoff game and has shown throughout her career, at any time, she's a sniper. Don't mess with her. And Tina Charles has shown in her career, and I don't see the Mystics, when the Liberty play the Lynx or the Sparks, those teams try and shut down Tina Charles and make the other players prove it. I don't see the Mystics doing that. I see the Mystics basically just saying, we're here on everybody. Everybody's been playing good, so we're here on everybody. Keep it slow, high intensity, and, just this calm push the whole game. I think it's going to be a really interesting kind of back and forth chess game throughout the whole game.
Okay. I know you've been dreading this. Who's going to win and why?
All right.
This is real drama, folks. That's not a fake.
I know, because I didn't want to make it, or I couldn't make a decision before we recorded this. And now just I'm staring at the stats right now, and it makes it even harder. I'm just gonna have to say I'm gonna go with New York. New York has been hot for 10 games, and the Mystics definitely have much bigger star power and have the ability to win this game. And either way, I would not be surprised. This is a tough one. I don't think it's going to be a far game. I think it's going to be close. The camaraderie and the fact that Liberty have known what team they were for a longer period of time versus the Mystics, who I think really just this last game said, hey, this is who we are.
We were down, and then, we both picked the Wings.
Yeah, we both picked the Wings. And then everybody came up and said, hey, everybody's picking the Wings. And I was like, no, I think the obvious pick is the Mystics. I just think the matchup is going to favor the Wings. And I was wrong. I admit that. Got a lot of flack for it. Apparently I'm not an insider. But
you got to earn your E.
I got to earn the loss of the E. Or I don't even, whatever. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, Tina Charles is going to go off. It's going to be a battle of stars. I think, you got the Lank attack in Miesemann and Deladon, and then you got the dagger, Chrissy Tolliver. Ivory Lotta last game also showed why I'm such a big fan of her. She came in with a lot of energy on defense, got a couple early fouls, but she also dropped 6 important points at a point in the game where the team was kind of struggling, and that kind of said, no. So I think it's going to be a great game. Definitely worthy of the ESPN 2 night game. But I think Liberty are going to come out Bill Laimbeer, whether or not, and Liberty also, last year were in a similar situation. They were seeded 3rd, and got blown out by the Mercury in a do or die game, and they're pissed about that. And they know that in the do or die series or do or die game, you gotta step it up. And I don't think you can count on the Liberty losing again.
One other question. I was reading about how Shavante Zealous really stepped up in this streak. We mentioned the big stars, the main players on both teams. How do the Mystics stop Zealous as a 3rd or 4th option?
She has been putting up a large amount of minutes and making a lot of use of those minutes. If they're going to shut her down early, I think that's the key. The key is that, in transition, they kind of feed off of each other. And if they're going to shut her down in transition, you got to, and I've been stressing this, for players like her who can get hot and include other players and kind of be an emotional carrier for her team, because that's really one of the things that she does very well. They need to cover her off the ball and frustrate her. They did a great job of doing this in Dallas with different variety of players in Dallas who have been getting hot. And if you want to continue to do that, play off the ball defense and be in her face on both sides of the court. I call two-way defense. Even when you're on offense, you're playing aggressive ball against her.
Yeah.
Keep her on her toes.
Keep her on her toes. No, it makes for very uninteresting calls. It's not a hot take, but I think the Liberty are going to win also. I think that they're too good. They're so hot. The way we've seen them playing and closing out the regular season, I would take them over anybody, I think, to win the championship. And as exciting as the Mystics...
That's the hot take.
That's the hot take. But as exciting as the Mystics are coming out of the last game and how we saw them really put the game together that we always thought that they could be now with the Leighton Deldon, you got to take the hot hands. It's not a hot take, but you got to take the hot hands. I'm going with the Liberty.
All right.